Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. I need you guys to smash that like button. Today I'm going to show you how I sound design in Pigments 7 from Arturia. You guys will get the presets for free. So Pigments, the main difference in version 7 is I think 3 filters: ripple, reverb, and rage. They've added some utilities over here and this like play style thing. I don't know if that was there before or not. So let me show you guys my technique. Firstly, I like to write the music first, and then I go to sound design. So let's create like a Drake vibe. Okay, so now we get the chords. What I'm going to do is show you my favorite thing, which over here is called a modulator. Now I like to mess with this octave here and turn up the volume. It adds a sine wave. I keep it on a sine wave. You can mess with other waves, but we can basically turn this octave up and use this and modulate this as well. So I keep mine at 1:1 ratio or 2:1 to create a higher octave. But let's go to the random tabs and let's go to the one on the left here. Switch it to sample and hold, and then we're going to grab random 1 and drag it over top the tuning here. Now in this little blurb, we're going to tell it to stay within a range of 4 octaves. So now if I hold a key, every time I press a key, that sine wave chooses a different octave. So it keeps our core sound intact, but it also adds this like moving octave. Okay, so that's the technique. Next, I like to go over here to the wavetable processing, and there's unison, chord, and super. I usually keep it on unison, but if I don't want unison, I just turn it off. Now sampling, let's add this sample, and I'm going to use something very basic and sine wave-esque, like a piano or E-piano guitar, something very smooth string-based instrument. Now this one's an E-piano, so we're going to keep it here. We could also try guitars. We want just a very light guitar, very like, not a bright guitar like that. Something like this. Because over here under the effects, we can add what's called bit crush or resonator. Okay, but let's try the bit crush. It adds this nice ringtone. You can mess with bit depth for like noise. So that adds texture to your sound. We could turn the sound down so it's not so loud. Okay, and then we can run these sounds through different filters. I could have the sample go through filter 2, and then over on the right side, we could have these either go in series or parallel. And I think by default, it's set to go in series, so we have to make these go in parallel, which is all the way to the right. So now, the sound from sound 2, oscillator 2, is going to go through filter 2, and now we can do stuff like drive and just weird resonance things. Okay, and then we can add a randomizer to it. Also, another randomizer I like is it's not really a randomizer, but under the combinate envelope 1, this is an envelope follower. There's other things we can mess with, but let's just use the envelope follower and drag this over top of the cutoff. So now based on the velocity, it moves the filter and how the sound comes in. So now we're adding this very specific texture. Now it's very subtle, but it's definitely there. All right, now let's get into the effects. One of my favorite effects here is the Shimmer reverb. Just can't go wrong with this. And I like to pitch it up 12 semitones so that the echo has a granular type sound. Let's just dial back some of the sample number 2. And let's also transpose this. I like to transpose these sometimes, the samples. So we're time stretching it. And we can even have this cutoff move over time as well. So let's have that be random. Let's go to the random tab. And let's see here, what do I want? Let's do voice modulator. So depending on how many notes you add, this randomizes it. So let's go random 3, drag that over the cutoff. So again, depending on how many voices we use, It's going to give each voice a different filter. And now we have this really unique sound. Now I think this shimmer is a little heavy, so let's pull it back a little bit. And let's add the modulator to the sound number 2 this time. And let's give it the same sample hold randomness and give it a range of 3. So I'm reading the value, it's like an arrow and it says 3. Now this is 0.25, so we need to tell this to be, I don't know if sample and hold has unipolar values. This is really geeky stuff. So we're gonna use random 2 because it has a unipolar approach. We could turn off the polarity. So I think the same thing happened over here. I didn't realize that. Yeah, that happened over here. Unless, let me see, if we, what if we raise this up, does that change? Okay, so yeah, we could change it that way as well. So I know I'm being a little vague here, but the problem is the sample and hold is a bipolar motion. And let's change the envelope control to something a little more random. Let's try random. Let's do sample and hold. Okay, drag that over the cutoff. Just so it's a little more random. Now, one thing people overlook is the arpeggio section in here. So I keep mine on arpeggio going upward. And the cool thing is you can mess with the slide and the gate length, aka like the truncation of the note or how long the note holds. And then you can mess with the octaves here too. So you could have it slide. So we're just creating like a drum pattern, but with arpeggio. And now to add more effects, we're gonna come back to the arpeggio. Let's add a multi-band or a compressor. Let's try multi-band though. We could also have this be in parallel, A to B, or we could have it parallel. So let's do parallel processing. So we have another effects chain, FXB. Let's add a compressor. And let me see what else we can, let's maybe boost the lows. So we're just adding texture here. There's no rhyme or reason to this. We're just trying to go off vibe. Keep in mind you also have auxes, a delay and a reverb aux. So there's a lot of effects hidden in Pigments. Let's take off the sequence for a sec. See how we're playing? I'm just playing 2 chords, A minor and D minor. But this sound is so big of a sound. So let's save this before we forget. Let's go to the top left, go to save preset as. Let's give it a name. Let's call it like Pad Drake-ish. Drake-ish. Your name as the author. We're going to put BusyWorks Beats type. This is a pad. Let's do evolving pad. I usually put my website right here in the comments so people can find the website, busyworksbeats.com. And then we'll put under the bank. You don't need to select a pre-existing one. You can actually type a name in here to add this to a new bank. So let's call this, I don't know, OVO. What would you, OVO Lab. Under genre, I usually have it under hip hop, usually, And you guys could mess with the styles and all this. I usually just keep it as simple as that. All right, so now let's write some music that matches this synth, and then we're gonna work on a bass sound. Let's record this. All right, so see how much randomness we get out of that one sound, and it's all because of that octave modulator. Now it's a little saturated. I probably will pull the saturation back a bit. It's a very full sound. We don't need a bunch of stuff. All right, now let's add a bass layer, which might be overkill, but let's try it. I'm gonna move kind of quicker here because, you know, we just need to move quicker. Let's add a modulator. Let's do it at 0.5. Let's turn this up. And let's go to coarse. Pull this down at least one octave here. So we should get more of a bubbly modulator sound. And we could switch, excuse me, the wave shape. But usually I keep it on sine wave. Sounds pretty dope. Let's go to keyboard. Let's add legato mode, add a little glide to it, and then we're gonna add a filter. But first, let's get the notes in. So pretty gritty sound there. All right, so so you guys can hear how much emphasis we have in here. Now the next thing I would do to mess with harmonics is add the low pass filter and just mess with the drive here. Just to tone it down a little bit. Now the bass is more muffled. We could also send it to the sends to add reverb. Let's go do something crazy here. Let's try to create a percussive sequence. This may or may not work. This is just me freestyling. All right, let's add a modulation source. And we're gonna add a sequence. So let's turn on the sequence first. And let me see. So this kind of repeats. So let me see. Let's add the root note. Let's just follow the root notes. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna copy the chord. Actually, let's just copy the bass. That solves our. Now let's go to the sequence. Let's slow it down. And let's do, let me see, velocity off. So we could turn off notes. Doing trecio for the pattern. It kind of goes random when it changes notes. So instead of doing all this, I might just keep it one note. it switches up too much. All right, this works here. All right, now let's see if we can create an envelope and then let's add some drive. So I'm trying to modulate to create a different wood type of sound effect. See what happens if we add a bandpass filter. Let's add some compression here. We need some kind of distortion. Let's try different waveforms. Let's add a little sample in here just to add a little more natural tone to it. Let's see what we can find under impacts. So this adds a little more texture. Not the exact sound I was going for, but I just don't want to sit here all day. Let's mess with these filters. So you guys can see how much we could do in pigments. And this is barely touching the surface. You guys will get this project file for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. Let's run this one more time. I'll leave a link below for the download. Pigment 7. Go to arturia.com and download their software center to get started today. All right, guys. Peace out. Subscribe if you're new. Peace.